Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Simon, Bird Problems, featuring Blumen, the Harpist. That's what we're going to dive into today. I was a little confused what was what, but the band is Bird Problems. The song is The Harpist, and it features Blumen, which I don't know who or what that is, so this will be interesting. I get introduced to two artists today. So let's dive into Bird Problems. Very Tesseract. I'm digging this. Very strange. It's like we're alternating between 10/8 and 11/8. Oh. So good. Love those vocal harmonies. Oh, that was tight. That's syncopation. Yeah, the delayed hit. I was hoping to figure out what was going on there. I think it's so 4/4, just with the delayed accent. Very clean. I love the phrasing on it. What a choice place for that falsetto. Yeah, bring on the layers. Give me all of them. Yeah, that was like okay, so I don't know if you guys know this. I like djent. I'm not a huge fan of pure djent, and I'm glad that this eventually went other places and kind of brought some mathy melodies in with it. But Tesseract, I've loved ever since you guys told me about them. I've been listening to Periphery since their first album. I don't even know how I heard it. I remember it was The Walk, but I don't know who would have introduced me to it. Um, but like I dig djent. I know it gets kind of like a bad rep or whatever, and honestly, I kind of thought djent was dead though. Oh, this was 4 years ago, so maybe it is. Uh, as far as I see it, djent has been incorporated into modern metalcore for its heavier sections, and it's played against more melodic chord-based stuff. Um, Building an entire song based on rhythmic syncopations and drop guitar tunings just isn't something that seems sustainable in the long run. So it was very interesting then to hear the beginning of this track and be transported back to some of the older Tesseract tracks. Um, and I loved it because they really capture that Tesseract energy. It's about crafting the atmosphere of the song, or the atmosphere you're trying to dig within while still creating that rhythmic syncopation. You want it to be jagged but fluid, and you want the chords to emphasize the right emotions. Despite djent just being chop up your rhythms and make something odd out of it, um, there's a lot of attention to detail that Tesseract puts into their work that is replicated here. I can see a lot of nuance in that opening minute or so. And I knew I was in for a fantastic ride. Now, there's so much going on in this short 6 minute track. I'm not going to be able to dig into everything that Bird Problems crafted, but I do want to look at some larger ideas that they explored commonly enough that yeah, I need to remember this. Um, First of all, though, is their rhythmic timing. I I think a lot of it comes down to the drumming because the guitar and bass, they do have these rhythmically syncopated ideas in there. Lots of staccato notes, not a lot of held notes. Everything's really short and crisp. And the rhythms are disjointed, yes. And there's a little bit of groove to the way that they're disjointed, but to me, that's the foundational stuff, right? What embellishes that and brings it to the next level and makes it fun and groovy, where it has that bite, but also, sorry, it has that edge, that metal edge, but is still something that grabs me melodically is the drumming. And I think that's, you might be thinking that's kind of weird. You just said the drumming's melodic, but it is. A lot of the drumming is based around rhythmic structure, but I feel like there's also a lot of attention from the drummer in what parts of the drum he hits, in what order and when and how frequently. It's not always about just keeping a rhythm. There is melodic expression in the drumming. It's simultaneously what holds all of the polyrhythmic ideas together, showcasing them in each of the limbs of the drummer, but also what keeps the flow intact. I think if you took the drum work out of this and listened to just the guitar and bass part, well, first of all, you're missing a third of the song, so I mean, it kind of falls apart if you do that for most songs. But if you take the drums out, though, I think you're going to find that the guitar and bass, while they are fine on their own, it's missing that oomph, that extra bit to really elevate the track. And that's not to diminish what the guitarists and bassists are doing at all. It's just I want to highlight how well they all work together and how important any one of the sections are, but also just how important the drumming is to the melodic framework of this. It's interesting to see a band sort of flip those roles with the guitars and bass primarily focusing on more of a rhythmic structure for this opening idea. And that's not to say that they always do. The band constantly shifts roles around. Occasionally, the guitarist and bass will, they'll have to take their turns at holding the melodic component down themselves. But here at the beginning, it's the drummer. It's very cool to hear this way. Also, for some reason, I was not expecting those harsh vocals at all. It was the first thing we heard from the vocalist. The clean vocals, for whatever reason, were exactly what I was expecting, or something close to what I was expecting. I don't know if it was um, just expectations based off of frame, body, visuals, anything like that, or if it's just the type of music. Because while we did have a djenty beginning, which I guess kind of see. Here's the thing, though, with that type of metal music, I typically think of heavier vocals, and that was more of a higher pitched fry, which I tend to associate more with indie rock. But when we hit some of the mathier sections, I can see how that vocal style works well with them, and particularly looking at expectations, genre expectations, and stuff like that. But once the whole, I wasn't expecting that kind of shock factor kind of petered out. Everything really came together well here, and in fact, at the end, I was loving how the harshes and cleans came together on the vocals. So yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I'm sold. The drumming, the guitaring, the bassing, the vocaling. I think we call that singing. Um, just phenomenal. I knew I was in for a good ride, and we're only a minute into the track. Now, as we go and explore more of this song, we dance between a few different styles. A lot of it does end up being rhythmically interesting, but we pass the baton around for the melodic purpose or the melodic lead, if you will. Occasionally, the bass has some really fantastic lines that take lead. The guitar has some really nice concepts as well. There was one part in specific that was super clean, and the guitarist was doing these, the funky syncopated stuff up on like the lowest string up at the top of the neck, and then came down to like the 13th fret to do this really clean sweep from low to high and move right back into the rhythmically syncopated stuff. And it was just like, yes, it was such a good moment. And it's little ideas like that that keep the melodic component up alongside the vocals, which tend to carry a lot of the leadership as far as the melody goes. There's a lot of clean vocals in here. The clean vocals have melody to them. It's all about the flow from note to note, and the vocals don't really participate too much in the rhythmic rigidness that we hear in the rest of the band. So it sort of balances it out that way. But it's really nice when the guitar and bass get a chance to take lead on that, whether it's the guitar solo, which we'll get into in a second, or those little embellishing lines that sort of support what the vocals are doing. Um, and that's how a lot of this is built up. There is usually two instruments that are rhythmically oriented. Sometimes they're within each other's rhythms. Occasionally, well, actually, not occasionally. A lot of the time, it's the guitar or bass playing alongside the bass kick in the drums. And then there's going to be more ornamental rhythmic stuff that is the pushback against that heartbeat, basically. And then we have the pulse of the song, which is going to be, accented downbeats or accented every other downbeats. And a lot of times that comes out of our cymbal. And then above this, we'll either have embellishing lines or a full melody line out of one of our instruments. And when they're not doing full lines, we have our lead guitar and our lead vocalist in here. Um, Now it's really cool, and I think this is where Blumen is. Let me check this real quick. I think Blumen is the pianist. Yeah, and of course you would think I typed Blue Man. Well, this might be a little difficult to figure. Although it looks like it's possible that Blumen is a lo-fi pianist. I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to guess on this one right now, because it's really difficult to search for this. I think Blumen is our pianist, and it adds an interesting texture because our bass is a bit wider but has that bite to it. Or I should say rounder but has the bite. Our guitar is full on metal. Our drums are heavily played. Our vocals are very forward placed. Not aggressive, but that powerful poppy kind of vocal. Or there are fry vocals which are a bit aggressive. They have that crackly texture to them, the compression. And then against all of this metaliness, we have a very soft piano. It provides a nice counter texture to everything else and softens up the overall tone, which really helps the song feel more melodic and have that extra bit of flow. Not rhythmic flow, of course, but emotional flow from one idea to the next. The piano does a fantastic job at sort of rooting the track a little bit. It is metal, it is djenty, and those two things can really push towards the extremes, and the piano helps root them both with its less rhythmic oriented ideas. There's a lot of just straight eighth notes being played out of our piano, and just the warm roundness and very earthy tone of it compared to everything else in the band, which goes for more of an aggressive or electric sound. So it's just really nice to have that. I didn't think. Oh, I'm trying to think if we've ever listened to any Tesseract that used piano in it. I know Periphery has used piano, but they have a different style of djent and a different tone overall. So I don't know that that would be a perfect comparison there. Regardless, though, I just really like the piano with this style of music, this sort of mathy djent stuff, and I want to hear more of it. I'm a bit not upset, but dis maybe not disappointed. Maybe disappointed. I'm disappointed in the whole djent genre for not having more piano in it. I'm just gonna put that out there. Bird Problems, you have opened my eyes to a big oversight in a genre, and now I can't unsee it. Anything else? Oh, I want to touch on the guitar solo real quick. I really loved it. It had moments of speed, it had moments of pause. There was a good 3 seconds of rest, which is just not something we hear in guitar solos outside of jazz too often. Occasionally, rock and roll would have something like this, but it's just it was lovely because it created this tension through non-playing. And I love that. It felt like he wanted to dig in. A lot of his rests were 1 or 2 beats long, and this was like edging on 3.5, almost 4 beats. of just silence. And I was like, you're going to pick it back up? You're going to hit that next note? But it's that anticipation in there that I really enjoy. I don't get to hear a lot of in metal solos. There's no playing with expectation time wise to make you, anticipate that next note, because a lot of metal is just keep going. The anticipation would be when are they going to stop? And that's not really an expectation I have with metal solos. They don't stop. Guitarists just shred until the end. So it's just a really nice shift there, and I enjoyed that little characteristic of the guitar solo. Um, And then the vocal layers at the end, which were just phenomenal. Not only do we have these really great wide chords across the vocals in a couple of the sections, but we get to the end note and we have two clean sections and a scream section all overlaid on each other, and it is just phenomenal. I loved every moment of it. This is exactly the type of final chorus I want to hear more of, and it's something I hear a lot in emo pop specifically. Also, pop rock is known for it. And the vocalist, actually, I want to touch on this, that these vocals feel closer to, well, like I said, indie rock. But I could also hear them in an emo or emo pop area as well. And I'm curious, um, possibly how this came to be. A lot of djent seems to have um, warmer vocals and or harsh vocals, and it was very cool to hear this brighter poppier type of vocal be paired with it. And I wonder if this was just like the way it was, or if they were like they were a vocalist and the band was looking for a vocalist and they auditioned for it. um, or how this came to be, because I love this combination. Like, this is my type of vocals with my type of music, but not in the usual capacities of them. It's like my two favorite genres just clash together, and it sounds phenomenal. Makes me wish we had more stuff like this. And the piano, like, I bird problems. You have opened my eyes to many problems in music, and now we have Bryan problems. So let's hit some lyrics here. We'll wrap this up. A bit of moonlight indulgence. We've come this far, what a waste it would be to turn back now. Never get to see the promise of the peak. There's a chance this is perfect. Is this not what we seek? Okay, so, we went out on a journey. We're on the precipice of it. Why would we turn back now when we are pretty much at the end of the journey? Moonlit indulgence, God's behaving badly. We're barely being bacchic until we've slept with the trees. Now, this kind of, I mean, it kind of goes along with the moonlit indulgence idea. It kind of makes me think of camping. But where's the indulgence part come in? Like the moonlit. Bacchic is just like partying, right? We're barely acting like we're partying if we haven't slept with the trees. Drink a tall glass of orange juice. Um, I'd call you a liar, but it's spelled like the instrument. But you'd keep harp. I'd call you a liar, but you'd keep harping on about it. Dumbfounded, loot the corpse, but it's loot like the instrument. I don't know what that last line means, but the repeated instrument puns is welcomed. Sting me to a frenzy with your staff of the wild. Oh, we've gotten so high, your hands caressing the sky, but no, it's never enough. There's more just up and above. Climb through the night, trust in this right, no respite. Climb through the night, trust in this right, you'll do fine. Conquer your spite, no end in sight, the peak's a lie. May the ground flow red with wine. Yeah, I don't know. This got real cryptic. I mean, it kind of started cryptic too, but at least I kind of pieced together the first stanza ish. But things got real weird after that. And I have no idea what it means. But I mean, I'm a music guy. Lyrics are just something I dabble in every once in a while. Those are my thoughts on Bird Problems the Harpist. Is this talking about. I think something clicked with the title. Is this talking about like a bard at a pagan ritual party thing, or maybe they're using visuals of a pagan party to just be a metaphor for parties entirely, and even the idea of the bard, the harpist, could just be like a DJ. I mean, is this just about? I mean, it mentioned multiple times at the end about getting high, and the sky being a lie. I mean, is this a song about partying? Right, like kids getting together for a house party, drugs and alcohol, dancing gets involved. I don't know, maybe. Jeez, I'm not 100% on that. I don't know. Let me know what you thought of this track. If you have anything you'd like to add to it, anything you'd like to add to my analysis, anything you'd like to correct me on, just let me know if you enjoyed it or not. Hit me up in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. It takes you to this menu right here, which has links for everything related to the channel. You can find multiple ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord community, a link to the music I've made, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll continue on with unexpected favorites and another special selection. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.